Watch your people. So this week's Sunday sermon comes from my my office studio that identifies as a garden shed. We've got our wonderful team member. Doesn't really do it justice, to be honest. Our dear friend and incredible creative genius that is Neil German, to thank for today's Sunday sermon topic. I was going to go with death penalty, alright? That's just how I was feeling. It was like, I want to talk about fucking death penalties. And Neil was like, no, not yet. So today's topic is self-care, which is, very important. Very, very important. And I'll tell you, I'll give you some context as to why that was a very sort of why that came up this morning. Me and Neil was having our regular meeting about what we're doing behind the scenes with all of the wonderful things that we've got coming along. And if you don't know what they are, well, we've got TruthWorks, which is the Hearing Heart 2.0. Coming on February the 26th of February, that is. I've been sitting in front of this fucking screen for too long, man. TruthWorks on Thursday, February the 26th, for every week, consecutively on Thursday nights. And then followed closely by the Dear Danny podcast. And then the MIGA. So it's all coming. It's all coming. It's all fucking coming. So we were having a chat about all of that, bringing that to the forefront of the project, and we were discussing what's going on, like with myself. Like I have been going through a wonderful transformation recently. It's been going on for a while, actually. Like I would say that there's a thing called like an undercurrent of our existence seems to be getting more, is accessing more power. And that not necessarily is that tangible in our everyday lives. All right, that's what I would say. But the undercurrent, somewhere deep down in us, there is sort of an incredibly strong foundations and structures being built that are preparing to build an incredibly fucking beautiful temple upon them. And that's what I feel like's happening with me, right? Like I feel like there's stuff going on. I can't explain it too well, yeah, because it's like a lot of it is beyond the realms of our cognitive explanation. So like for me, it's like a lot of it's just based on how I feel. Like I feel that, and I've spoken about this a lot, I've got an incredibly powerful mind, yeah, and that can be on one side an incredible gift, and on the other side it can be a fucking curse. And anyone out there who's got a very active and powerful mind like mine can probably understand what I'm talking about. Like it's a lot, it's a lot, especially what's going on in the world and how we're saturated with so much stimuli. It's almost overwhelming, and especially for people like I don't believe in a lot of that stuff when people say you're on the spectrum. I think people are fucking special. I think that's what it is. Like I think a lot of people who are autistic or Asperger's, I think they're people who are incredibly fucking special and have accessed stuff that perhaps we haven't been able to access. I'm not saying that, some of their sort of social qualities have been impaired, let's say, but there's definitely something that is being accessed that we can't get our heads around a lot of the time. And I feel like I feel like sometimes I'm, like with the stimuli that's available in our modern world. And I know that's speeding up. And I know that so much more is coming online now for us. And how we are able to embody that, right? To allow that to come into us in a balanced way and not an overwhelming, I can't take no more way. A lot of that is about how we're looking after ourselves. So that's the self-care part, right? For me, personally speaking, there's a formula, and I've spoken about this in my workshops, and I've spoken about this on MIGA, and I'll continue to do so because, like, this is it's something like once it clicks, there's no going back, right? There's literally no going back. You can't operate another way anymore because this is like, it just works, okay? That's not to say you don't have your days where you're just going, everyone's a cunt kind of days. I get it. But you're always able to bounce back, and you bounce back 10 times more quicker than you used to. And it's getting quicker and quicker and quicker until there's no more bounce back anymore because you're just living the flow. You're just living that feeling of like, this is me, you know? And so like, it begins with self-care. That is like, it's it. It's it. Self-care is it. That's literally it. All right, see you later then. Bye. I mean, no, but that I could end it on that. Yeah, self-care is it. Yeah, but the process of how self-care happens is perhaps valuable for people to listen to. So here we go. Right, I have a formula that I live my life by. Right, so I wake up in the morning. Depending on the weather, I start a fire. Not just like an arsonist. I'm the fire starter, twisted fire starter. Not like that. Like controlled and considered. Like I'm going to warm our little space for my for my children and my wife. So I start a fire, which is an act of self-care in itself. And then while I'm doing that, I have a little teaspoon of coconut oil, and I do oil pulling, which I don't want to go into all of like the sort of nuances of why oil pulling is good for us, but it's starting my day off with an act of self-care, you know, for my mouth, for my vocal instrument. And then I'm doing that while I'm starting the fire. So like 15, 20 minutes I'm oil pulling, and then I go and sit in silence. Now, some days I sit in silence for 20 minutes, some days 25 minutes, some days only 5 minutes, right? Depending on what's going on and like the weather and how I feel and whatever. But I always start my day with a little bit of silence. And then I'm already like checked in, yeah? I've already begun my day when I'm listening to me. You know, I'm listening to what I want, what I feel, you know? And then within that silence, I'm able to sort of disassociate, which isn't me. Like the voice that's not me. Because we wake up in the morning, it's like, oh, you got to do this, you got to do this, oh shit, money's running out, and this is happening, oh my god, you're meant to get back to that person, you're meant to get back to that. This is happening, you got to do this, got to do that, oh no, you got to do that, it's raining today, but this, and like, you're already leading your day, has begun, your entire day now is about listening to the voice that isn't you. So for me, like, that moment of silence, now I've disassociated myself from, no, that's not me. No, that's not me. That negative fucking voice is putting me down and judging me. That's not me. That voice over there that's doubting me. No, that's not me either. So then I'm already like, I've got my self-care cloak on. You know? I feel a little bit better about myself to begin my day. Then I go back and I'm like, I've arrived. Today's going to be wonderful. And I feel already more present, more affectionate, more patient, more humble, all of these things. Happier, more joyful, more, what can I say, like more focused on what my day's going to be like, what I've got to do. And then I have my elixir then, all right? And you're all dying to know what my elixir is, aren't you? And listen, this is not me, this is my disclaimer, right? If you go and copy this elixir and it doesn't work for you and you throw your guts up like the Exorcist in your kitchen sink, that's on you. That's on you. Because it works for me, but it might not work for you, and it's up to you to figure out your own elixir. But I'll tell you what it is, because I believe it's quite a potent force. So, I have the juice of 1 or 2 lemons, depending on how juicy the first lemon was. And then I mix a little bit of olive oil, a little bit of apple cider vinegar, a little bit of Celtic salt, a teaspoon of Corella, half a teaspoon of cayenne pepper, a clove or 2 of garlic, minced, like one of those little squasher things. And yeah, I think that's it. And then I mix it all, and it smells like putrid. Smells a bit like old seaweed kind of smell. With like an old, like it smells maybe like a vinegary old seaweed. You know, that's what it kind of smells like. So I knock that back, normally in 1 or 2 swigs, and it goes, and I burn for about 10 seconds, and then I'm like, hey, alrighty then. And I feel brilliant, you know. And then I've got like a little, a couple of other little very small supplements that I take as well, only depending on how I feel. I'm doing a lot of liver flushes at the moment, so I have one which like a liver care, darling, liver care. I have a liver care little remedy thing I take as well at the moment. And then, so like, I've done that, and then I put the kettle on, because now I'm going to have a nice cup of Earl Grey. Right? As you know, I do like a cup of Earl Grey, with a little spoonful of honey in there. And while that's, I've got that now, and that's done, and I put that on the fire to keep it warm, and while that's sitting there steeping, because it's got to steep, innit? Like, if you know your tea, you need your tea to steep, it can't just be fucking teabag in and teabag out, like, who does that? I'm English, aren't I? So then while the tea's steeping, as it should do, I'm stretching. And I stretch for maybe 15, 20 minutes, just make sure everything feels fluid. And I do a couple of like quick movements and stuff to get the whole fucking system moving, get everything flowing. And then I'm very much I'm in this process of like, what do I need to do? What's on my radar today? And that could be like whatever, it doesn't matter. But my day, the foundation of my day, has started off with a lot of self-care. Yeah, I've not listened to the kids. I've not listened to my incredibly high maintenance wife. I am just concentrating on what is good for me right now. And that's only like, an hour of my day, yeah, at the beginning of my day. Now, I know a lot of the time what we do, and I've done it in the past, is that we invent excuses that we can't give ourselves an hour of time in the morning. Well, because we've got to get up early, or we've got this, or we've got that. And I get it, right? Like, I've got kids, 3 young kids, and they're all together, and they're all, like, there. And like I've said before, it's sometimes like you're living in our little space. It's like being in an episode of Takeshi's fucking Castle. But it's possible. And even if you were to a space where you couldn't get away on your own to go and sit in silence, you could probably get your kids to do it with you. Because the kids love it. Children love it. They really, really thrive on being involved in things that you value. And so there are ways, So it's important, very important for us not to sort of create some kind of excuse or barrier that's getting in the way of our self-care, because the demon part of us, the shadow self of us, doesn't want self-care. It wants us to absolutely and utterly abuse ourselves. That's what it really wants. And so like the remedy to the shadow self is self-care. So the more you do that, right? So this is what I'm getting to. The more I've been doing this, and that's been going on for quite a while now, that I've maintained this balance of self-care in the morning, I'm starting to feel very fucking special. And I don't mean like special like, ooh, I mean like really, really good within my own skin. Yeah. A level of sort of very, very, I would say like a very deep layer of confidence is blossoming out of that self-care. I'm starting to feel a lot more uncensored, and I've always been someone who's quite uncensored, but even more so, I'm not really giving a fuck about what anyone thinks anymore, and that's getting stronger and stronger, and that's a sure sign that you're starting to really love yourself, yeah, in a very balanced way. Not like I'm like, oh my God, I'm God's gift and I'm arrogant. Like you've got this sort of like pseudo confidence and arrogance. Not at all. It comes with, I feel sort of like true confidence comes very, very closely with and is delivered and runs parallel to humility, but you're just starting to take on this real sort of self-assurance that you're like, I'm happy in my own skin. I'm happy with who I am. And we've all got that. That's accessible for everyone, right? But it starts with self-care. It really does start with self-care. If we're able to say, like, right, first of all, and I want everyone to try this as well, right? Because this Sunday sermon, like, it's all well and good listening to me while you're doing your washing up on a Sunday morning, or you're fucking, I don't know what you're doing on a Sunday morning. You're doing something and I'm playing in the background. It's all well and good, but some of the stuff I'm saying, it can be used as a mechanism for a beautiful transformation. You know, I'm not just saying it just so to entertain you, just so you've got something to distract you from fucking silence or, I don't know, whatever else you want to be distracted from. That's one, on one hand, like there's an entertainment value to my content. I can understand that, you know. However, a lot of what I'm saying is like very, very basic, fundamental tools for living. Yeah? And I promise you, like if you started to do the things that I'm talking about, you wouldn't recognise yourself in 6 months, because I'm starting to really feel like, oh my God, was this the answer all along? And like based off of that as well, right? That self-care is that the more you do that, the more like the things that are not good for you, they start to fall away. Because this is what we talked about a lot in MIGA, and we talked a lot about this on in our workshops, right? Is that people want to give up stuff, right? People are like, oh, I don't want to think like that anymore, or I don't want to that habit anymore. I don't want to drink anymore. I don't want to eat shit anymore. I don't want to fucking pick my fingers anymore, itch myself anymore, or wank off to porn anymore, or fucking sniff drugs anymore, or smoke weed anymore, or smoke fags anymore, or fucking watch shit anymore. Like whatever it is that you can feel that is probably not aligned to where you would like to go and who you would like to be. I feel personally that like the way, if you're sort of going to right, that's it, I'm stopping that don't feel right to me. It never has. It almost feels like it has to seamlessly fall away from it. Fall away from our being. Like it's almost like something that whatever that is, that other fucking thing, yeah, that other presence, that fucking shadow, which is plugged into us, like, and we're plugged into it, is plugged into us. I think. Yeah, I think it's plugged into us, and I think the more self-care we have, like what happens is like we start to all those gaps and all of those little holes in us, which are able to be plugged into, they start to become solidified, and we become impenetrable in this bubble of love. But that's got to come from the inside out, isn't it? And someone can't come up to you and go, oh, mate, here's a load of love. You've got to feel that from the inside out. That's what this fucking piece of hardware is all about. You know, it's a love machine, baby. It's a love machine. And so once we feel that, we can feel that machine vibrating so fucking high on love, then all of those other things start to fall in place. But it's habitual, isn't it? It's a habitual process. Like doing those things, like practicing that formula. Listen, your formula is your formula, right? That works for me. If it resonates with you and you want to like take it and adapt it to your own life to make it more manageable for you, or to make it resonate more with you, or to take a little bit of this and leave a little bit of that, it's your masterpiece, isn't it? You make the ingredients and you cook the feast, which is you, right? That's down to you. But I'm just saying that all of the factors and all of the data is here in what I've just explained, but it is just fundamentally it's self-care. Yeah. So if we can practice self-care all of the time and be like the things that are in the way of self-care, or the things that are sabotaging self-care, whether that would be negative thought or negative practices, negative patterns, negative programming, which shows itself up in food, in relationships, in fucking TV, of our attention, our focus, all of the negative things, they start to drop away. Because you just feel like, I don't need any of that anymore, because I just want to be me. You know? And I found that, like, because I've been doing, I'm on my fourth, by the time this is aired, because it's Friday now, but this is a Sunday sermon, I have you know, all right? It's a Sunday sermon, so you're watching this on a fucking Sunday. I will be doing my fourth liver flush on Sunday evening. So because of that, that's another big, like I'm talking about the undercurrent of self-care that's running through me, is that I'm taking care of myself now. So when I've got a liver flush, like I'm doing these liver flushes, I haven't had a sip, oh, tell a lie. When my doctor was here, I keep calling my doctor, right? Because I just like the ring of it. My dear friend Bart, but he was our doctor. I mean, he kind of still is, even though he's our friend now as well. He had some very, very, very good single malt whiskey here when he was here last week. And I had like a tiny little bit of it just because I had sort of some sinus congestion. And anyone who knows anything about like old medicines and old tinctures and stuff, a lot of them contain like good quality whiskey. So like, to me, that's sort of medicinal use of alcohol. But recreationally, I haven't had a drink since the beginning of October as well, which I think is very, very poignant, right, in the self-care thing. And again, this is not me judging or criticising anyone who's drinking. I couldn't give a fuck what you do. I really couldn't. That's not my problem. I'm just speaking from my own experiences for someone who has intermittently had a drink. I've liked a glass of red wine or a bottle of red wine, depending on how I felt. And it's all just starting to feel like it's dropping away. Is that to say I'm never going to have a drink again? Of course not. Who knows? I don't know. I'm not living in like sort of strategically trying to work out the future. I'm just sitting here like trying to feel what's right now. And the more self-care that comes over me, I could just feel like, well, those moments of like needing something outside of myself to give me some kind of fulfillment are not there anymore. There are other things, certain things that are in my life now that I'm going, okay, I'm doing a little bit more of that, and I'm doing a little bit more of this and a little bit more of that. But that's give and take, isn't it? That's push and pull, like to and fro. That's just what happens, isn't it? There's peaks and troughs in the way that we're sort of like trying to like really find this balance and this current. And we're going to go up and down on that, and I think that's just the way it is naturally. It's just that the peaks and the troughs, they just get less. They just get less drastic. They're just not as heavy or as accelerated as they have been before. With the highs are maybe higher, but the lows, it all seems to be just finding itself in this neutrality, which is sort of like a very nice current of like. Of what I could say is a natural vitality for human beings. And the closer we get to that, I think that is inner peace, right? That is self-contentment. And when we practice self-care, all of that stuff becomes more and more on our radar. It becomes much more in our instead of being on the periphery of our lives, it's front and center. And I mean, like, you can take. I don't care. Like I said, I don't care what you do. It's up to you. But you must be able to. When you're hearing this, you're thinking. There's probably things that you're thinking. Well, I'm still doing that. I wish I wasn't eating that cereal for breakfast because I know it's full of sugar and it's made by some fucking scumbags that I don't want to support. I maybe shouldn't be smoking them cigarettes because for the same reason. Maybe I should put down. I'm taking these fucking big harmer tablets. And, really, that I know that there's probably, there is an option for that medication in nature. Let me have a look into that. Let me research that. Maybe align myself more with that, with this holistic, natural approach, as opposed to, being sucked in by that other negative force again. Because that's what it is, right? We've been conditioned our entire lives. We've been indoctrinated our entire lives to trust the man. And the man is a fucking creepy nonce, yeah? That's the fact, the man. Yeah? And when I talk about the man, I'm talking about the state. I'm talking about the authoritative fucking governance of the external world out there, the media, the science, the fucking... All of the mainstream fucking setup is the man, yeah? And all of the people that we see in the public eye, they all work for the man. And the man is a creepy nonce behind a curtain. Right, and our entire lives we've been listening to it, going, oh well, what, like, you tell me, like, the doctors tell me, the science people tell me, like, the scientists tell me, the politicians tell me, how should I live? Like, all of that stuff, it's all becoming redundant now. It's all expired. And the more we're able to practice self-care, the more we like, I don't need to listen to any of that anymore, because it's just getting so strong inside of me. This real powerful feeling of self-determination, of autonomy, is becoming so fucking powerful that I don't need any fucking external validation or anyone to steer me or direct me in this existence, because I know where I'm going. And all of that becomes more and more apparent the more fucking we practice self-care. And I mean, it's like, it makes me want to go crazy sometimes how obvious it is. Like how simple life is and how we've overcomplicated it through this hijacked mind, yeah, where entire industries have been created to examine the psychotic mind, the psychology of the human mind. We don't need to. It's all a load of bollocks. Just got to practice. Fuck the theory, all right? Park the theory up over there. Park it up. The theory is useless, all right? The practice is what we need. Because then the theory, it becomes like defined. It becomes like something we can look at and go, like, oh yeah, that makes sense because we've been practicing it. The theory becomes experiential, you know? Like through experiencing stuff, we get the evidence of the theory. We can cut the theory out. We'd have to sit there and theorise about, oh yeah, will that work or this work? It gives a fuck. Just practice it. Practice the things that are good for you. Practice the things that make you feel good. Practice the self-care, and everything else falls into place. You're going to get more empowered, yeah, more healthy, more strong and certain in your own voice. You know, you're going to become more self-assured, more confident. I mean, it's just the answer, and I'm I do sometimes wonder why no one else has figured it out yet. And maybe I make it sound easy, but I think it is. I think it really is that easy, and I think the only thing that's getting in our way is our own mental construct and the stories and stuff that we've been building in our heads. And I know, listen, I get it, right? I could sit here and harp on all day about the stuff that I've witnessed in my life. I could tell you about things that have gone on in my childhood that, you know, I could easily make bigger than me right now. And I could easily use them, I could lean on them as another excuse not to fulfill who I really am. But I fuck that. I don't care about them stories anymore. Do you know what I mean? I respect them. I respect my childhood. And if I feel a feeling of sadness, I'll fucking cry. But I don't need to write a story about it. I don't need to build this big romanticised fucking thing about, oh, wow, and then stay in that place and identify so strongly that I'm lost in this fucking cloud of misery. Fuck that, mate. Life's short. I want to live. I want to live, and I want to be full of all of this fucking feeling of like wonder and awe. And that's what becomes available. That's what becomes accessible the more we practice self-care. See? It was always you, innit? It was always fucking you. Always you. Always you hiding from you. So look, I hope that helps. I really do, because it's helped me. I mean, beyond, I'm just getting bigger and brighter and stronger day by day. And I only wish the exact same for you. So give it a try, innit? What's the worst that can happen? All right, that's the Sunday sermon for this week. And I'll catch you again soon. All the best.